I wonder sometimes about the function of these meetings. We'll all get our speak in and ask our questions, but what is the policy response to it? Because I'm not sure that there has been any policy response at government level since our last meeting in April. I mean, the reality is, whatever we say about mortgage and repossessions, that was a law voted in by the government to facilitate the banks in the summer of 2013. Many of us opposed that law and bitterly opposed it at the time. So I'm not surprised that the banks then will go and use that particular legislation to the best advantage that they have when they're allowed to do that by the government. So let's have a bit of reality here. We continue to oppose and bitterly oppose that and stand up for those people who are dragged into the courts as a result of the bank's actions, but also as a result of the change in law made by this government in summer 13, and that's a fact. Can I just ask about, there's a number of government schemes that have been offered to help, and one of them is the mortgage to rent scheme. Can I just ask Mr. Boucher for your views on that scheme from your perspective, because there's a number of stakeholders involved in it. I think it's important to hear your views.
My colleague will take that, if that's okay with you,
Deputy, in terms of just numbers first, and I'll come back on the scheme, then the Bank of Ireland has proposed 226 cases to as part of the mortgage to rent scheme. 90 of those proposals are being taken forward. 90. 136 did not meet the criteria. In relation to, we had a very good discussion about this at the last meeting back in April, and I think we discussed, and it's in the record, a number of issues with that mortgage to rent scheme. Since then, we have been involved in active discussions with the various parties, including the approved Housing Board and the Department. I believe we are very close to a very good protocol in this space. I know there's a meeting taking place in the last week in November to bring this matter to a conclusion, but I think we're moving to a much better space in regard to this, Senator.
And tell me this, the criteria, flawed as they are, they're reasonably clear. How was Bank of Ireland able to put forward a large number of cases that then turned out not to meet the criteria? Is that the different interpretations of?
There were issues about predominantly around funding capacity and location of premises. So some premises clearly were, let's say, outside of, let's say, large estate agents that would be of more attraction to the housing boards or to the department.
The criteria is maybe more at the property side, the specific property side, Senator, which is a more difficult thing to ascertain upfront with the customer.
There are very clear valuation limits, I think. So I presume there are no mistakes made on them, or was that an issue?
The valuation centre, to be honest, actually it's probably the one remaining matter to be resolved between now and the end of November. But we believe there's an approach that will get us there.
And are we 2 or 3 years? I think it's 2 years that we're really sort of messing around with this scheme, isn't it? I mean, I'm not blaming the banks actually for this one, because it seems to me it's the government actually that have done nothing. But it's about 2 years, isn't it, since it started? And we're only now, you say, possibly in November getting a resolution. I think it's a scheme that could work very, very well if the government was serious about it, actually.
We do think that you also need the housing associations to do it, not for profit. Like I said, what we see in the United Kingdom, it's a sector that we would encourage.
So you will pass off your bad mortgages off to the not-for-profits that you will then charge interest to.
We've taken the provision, whether or not the not-for-profit deals with us, but we're prepared to provide finance to them.
Deal with them on a commercial basis, as you told us earlier.
Yeah, we're a business.
Okay. Now, why it seems to be a very small amount of mortgage rents that you put forward. Like, it was a very low figure. And the way the scheme operates, the bank is the gatekeeper actually to the scheme. It's not right. The bank decides whether to put it forward, which again is, in my view,
really, I suppose, going back to your earlier point or assertion, we'd have every interest in seeing a scheme like this work. We'd have no commercial reason why we wouldn't want it to work.
Okay. So is there any reason then for the low numbers that are taken up?
I think
that you're proposing.
A lot of these things take time to develop.
2 years in the middle of a crisis, I think it's.
You do need the funder at the other side.
And have you contacted the Department of the Environment or the Department of Finance to express your frustrations as to how it's working? Because you say you want it to work.
My colleagues, we participate actively in working parties to try and see how we can assist.
I hope it works, because it has been an absolute disaster for the last 2 years. I really hope it works, because it was promised to so many vulnerable people by the government, and I think they've been let down. But look, let's wait and see as the good news in November. Maybe the committee should follow that up at least from the meeting.